Yo, what's up guys? I'm very excited to be talking about Smite 2, the sequel to the original Smite that came out over a decade ago. I put over 3,000 hours of playtime into Smite, and for anyone who's been playing for a decade like me, you know how big of a deal this is. Like, it almost doesn't feel real. Until you remember the trend of sequels like Counter-Strike 2 and Overwatch 2, which gets a good amount of criticism, but will that end up being the same fate as Smite 2? That's one of the many questions we'll be talking about in this video, as well as things like the gameplay, the player count, the Founders Edition, the alpha playtest, and how Smite 2 is as a sequel. Right off the bat, I was definitely amazed taking it all in, even from the home screen, just looking at the new style and god selection. Of course, this is during an alpha, so there aren't as many gods, and I'm sure everything will look different later. This is actually during the first alpha week when everyone first got their hands on the game. I don't normally buy new games, so this was pretty exciting, especially since they released the alpha playtest a few hours early. And you know I had to start with my main man Anubis, and it's pretty crazy seeing things you recognize in this new and updated way. Just looking at the conquest map is something. The graphics really are next level, and the presentation of Smite 2 is pretty epic. I'm trying to avoid saying this is a brand new experience because I've played on this map with this god with these items, you know what I'm saying. But as of right now, Smite 2 has an interesting way of revamping and updating everything about Smite. Like, your favorite god might have gotten an ability change, like on her and Anubis ult having a burst of damage instead of just being consistent damage. A lot of items from Smite 1 are changed, renamed, and of course there's new items. I suck with the items right now, and it's actually kinda nice being bad relearning everything. I don't normally play Conquest either, so it made everything feel newer and reminded me that I'm playing a MOBA. And something else that'll remind you that is this goddamn grass. Can someone mow the lawn? Okay, the grass is pretty cool so far, but they totally didn't get that idea from a slightly bigger MOBA, right? Also in Conquest, the camps are pretty different. They get stronger over time and you get better buffs, which sounds like a good progression. You also press space to pick up buffs, so no more walking into them by accident and causing team fights. It's things like this and all the little things that make the old systems and mechanics feel fresh and new. I'm embracing that Smite 2 is building off the first game, but that's not to say that some things aren't drastically different. Like I said with the items, they're taking me some time to get used to. They have this whole intelligence and strength system with items now. Strength is the equivalent of magical and physical power, and intelligence is related to your kit and the specifics of your abilities. Like if you have a heal, intelligence will make you heal more. Or if you have a stun, intelligence will make it last longer. Take that with a grain of salt, but that's basically how it works, and it's fun trying to find a balance and figure out which items are good. It's also flexible enough that any god can get any item. Yes, that means crit Ymir. And I know I should watch a long detailed video about the items and the meta, but come on guys, I'm just here to have fun. Now, I don't blame you if that's what you do, it's just that this is the only time I'll get to enjoy being a noob. Maybe that's something I appreciate more after playing Smite 1 for a decade and that I'm still more of a casual player. Don't get me wrong, we can all try hard at a game like Smite, but I don't go too crazy. I mean, I was curb stomping the enemy team in my first couple games, so we can all be a little crazy sometimes, but I think it's more because they had someone disconnect and I got lucky. At first I thought I was a pro at this game, but then I got humbled pretty quickly. But this is only an alpha, guys. Keep it casual and just try to have a good time and learn as much as you can or want. Considering that you have to pay to play, I thought it would be sweatier, but I'm sure it will be as time goes on. I honestly wasn't sure if Smite 2 is worth paying for up front like this, but I know in hindsight it will be. I spent $30 for the Founders Edition, and just getting every god for free makes it valuable, as well as ×2 legacy gems, but also the limited avatar and title I'll cherish forever, and not to mention Keiko Demon 2 for Ymir. I was trying to avoid using skins at first, but I had to budge for what will be my most valued and loved skin in Smite 2. When I first looked at this skin, I was stunned. This is what made me knew I had to get the Founders Edition, and getting early access so I could make this video. It's things like Keiko Demon 2 and all of these skins that I already have that makes me want to get ready for Smite 2. I can't wait to build up my account and start my long Worshipper journey. Even the Worshipper system is updated with the Ascension Pass or something. Like, I can't believe I'll be starting all over, but in a good way because my Smite 1 profile is still there and I'm excited for a new journey. I can't wait for new updates, new god releases, new events, and new game modes. Like, I've been kinda wanting a new MOBA experience, but I don't like most MOBAs and I've grown pretty comfortable with Smite, so Smite 2 could be just what I needed. In the best way possible, it reminds me when I would get excited for a new Call of Duty, but that's when it was good over 10 years ago. Like, the previous Call of Duty game wasn't that different from the last, but they were still new and exciting and built off the formula or foundation of the game. That's kinda like Smite 2. Of course it's not the exact same thing, but I think you get what I'm saying. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, but I'm sure some of you do, so let's get into some criticisms. Honestly, there's not a lot, but I'm kind of in the honeymoon phase right now, so keep that in mind. I'm sure it won't be long until I'm complaining about the matchmaking or my teammates. One of the biggest ones I see people talking about and that I'm experiencing a little bit is the performance. Here you can take a look at my specs and some people say the game doesn't run that good. I had to turn down my graphics settings, but it seems like people are exaggerating. It's definitely playable. I know there's a new engine and the game looks pretty good and here's the recommended graphics settings, but I'm hoping it's not the optimization. And if it is the optimization, I'm sure they'll tweak it and make it better. It's only an alpha. Like, I'm sure you noticed that I don't have perfect frames, but considering this is an alpha, this seems fine. I struggled much more on the Battlefield 2042 beta. Something I had more of a problem with is when I was messing with the keybinds. I normally change a few keybinds like my abilities, but it seems like some keybinds have multiple uses and it gets confusing. Like sometimes after using an ability, I can't auto attack until using that ability again or something weird like that. I don't know if that's me or the game, but something that's not me is not being able to type to my teammates. Who else is gonna tell them that they suck and to go back to Smite 1? Okay, I'm sure that's one of those things that's just limited during the alpha, but maybe some of these limitations can be seen as criticisms, like limited gods, one game mode, and limited time on the game. But hey, it's an alpha, what do you expect? Like, you're not gonna get little details like god lore and a perfect UI right off the bat. Maybe I did wish you can level up in the beta for something cool, or something that discouraged players from leaving because there were a fair bit of DCs and games ending because of them. I guess there's no penalty right now. You also get a pretty funny name when you disconnect. It can also be annoying when teammates don't care about roles and it negatively affects the game. Not to mention that every time you open the game, you are forcefully greeted by these two. What an unforgivable, unskippable cutscene.
Thank you for joining the Smite 2 Alpha. This is a true alpha. We know there are some bugs and a lot of work still to be done.
And of course there's typical frustrations that Smite has, and the big criticism being that this is Smite 2. A game in the same lane as Overwatch 2 and Counter-Strike 2. Whatever you think about that. To make it simple, I know the gaming industry sucks and can be lazy, but I have little expectations in general and this seems like it'll be better received than Overwatch 2, and I'm simply enjoying Smite 2 so far. My opinions can change over time, but at least Smite 2 isn't replacing the original Smite like some of these other sequels. I really like how Smite is still there with all my progress waiting for me if I want to come back. I'll like having the option between playing Smite 1 and Smite 2. The game comes out in July and there's a fair amount of hype. The player count wasn't looking too bad when I was playing considering that you had to pay to play. Because of the player count in a single game mode, the queues were really fast, under 30 seconds every time. I have a feeling Smite 2 will have a big launch, and if not, it'll be funny looking back at this video. That's partially the main reason I'm making this video. It'll be fun to look back at Smite 2's alpha as time passes. I have videos on Smite 1 from over a decade ago and I look at those very fondly, like a time capsule. And of course this is only an alpha, so a lot of things will change even shortly after this video, so be sure to take note of that. I'm sure I'll make more Smite 2 videos and reviews as I get more comfortable and more playtime, but for now, I think I said what I wanted to say. Or I just want to rush this video out for views and money like a good YouTuber. Okay, there's only so much I can say about an alpha, right? I just wanted to get my first impressions out there, but have it organized enough to be a little review. Leave a like if you think I did an alright job, and drop a comment telling me what you think of Smite 2 so far. I'm genuinely curious because I don't know if the community is nice or mean yet. Subscribe if you think I'm cool enough and so we can go through this Smite 2 journey together. I'm excited to see the future of Smite 2 and I can't believe I'm doing it all over again after a decade of Smite 1. Well, here's to round 2. Peace.